So you're here to hear about the Great Parenting Roadmap, about the 5 steps that I have identified to being the great parent you're born to be. And this came from work for years with clients and then taking a course on curriculum development and realizing, holy cow, I absolutely have been guiding people through 5 steps. Really is how my work goes, systematizing and realizing that there really are 5 steps that I love to work with parents, but also realize that my journey and every parent I've worked with, you need to master these steps. So exciting, because part of Zoom, and love that you're still jumping on, which is great. Maybe Sally, you could put something in the chat too, although some people don't know how to get on chat, but if we might explain the chat one more time, but you can also jump on Facebook Live. Facebook.com, Great Parenting Show. You can ask questions there, and at the end, I'll get to your questions. So, love to ask you how many countries you think we're in. I have found it crazy phenomenal to realize how many countries. I've been astounded, and even if you read the email where I once listed the number, you won't know, because the number, it continued to grow from there. But today on the call, so excited. We've got people from Pine Bush, New York, Ottawa, Kansas, Ottawa, Ontario, Effingham, New York, Prescott, Arizona, Severna Park, Maryland, Annapolis, Maryland. That's one of our wonderful IC members. Switzerland, Malaysia, Utah, Bridgeport, Connecticut, Bellevue, Washington, Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Broomfield, Colorado, Kenton, Ohio, Las Vegas, Miami Beach, Florida, Bargersville, Indiana. That's another wonderful Inner Circle member. Welcome to you. Austin, Texas, Grants Pass, Oregon, Tucson, Arizona, Oceanside, California, DeLon, Georgia. That's Sally and Joanna, actually. Lake Zurich, Illinois, Calgary, Alberta, Prince Rupert, BC, West Babylon, New York, and question mark. Really would love to see where you are from. And yeah, I love the participant number keeps going. So please put in the chat, questions and comments, because it's really helpful for your learning. And I would love you to put how many countries you think that we are in. That GPS, we really have reached a phenomenal number of people, and so much is more to come as we enter into a real growth phase. So where in the world you are, I'd love to hear that. If you're able to take notes, lovely. I love to have an interactive style. Would love to hear. Oh, love Ashland, Oregon. Welcome, Jean. Just noticed another one. So please keep your comments coming, because my style is interactive. Love to be able to clarify things for you as we go. And I have just loved the hours. I ended up spending hours in our email system and finding out more about you. So really want to continue that dialogue. And I just know that you can get more out of this if you're able to focus. You're busy moms, we will always have replays, and you may not be able to, but if you can, really giving yourself that ability to take notes and interactive focus can really help your learning. So are you exhausted, overwhelmed, and focusing on your kids, not just 24/7, but 365 days of the year? Are you wanting to have a way more loving and fun moments with your family? Because at the same time, it's ridiculous. If you're putting that much into parenting, you should be having a rock star time, and that's not what most of you are experiencing. Are you worried about how your kids may come out? Oh, fabulous, greetings from India, excellent. Are you wondering what's happened to your life, right? And wondering, like, and I talk so much with the clients I work with about anger, and why there is a reason why we're the most yelling, blowing up generation of parents, because we have some primal rage about things that aren't going well for us. And are you also concerned about how media is changing everything? Because we are the pioneers in the media age, and it's not going well for a lot of families. And yet we get into beating ourselves up, feeling like bad moms, bad dads. And I do keep leaving out the dads. There's so many great dads in the GPS community. We feel like bad parents, and we really shouldn't, because we are doing a phenomenal job given the information we have and given the keys that we have. So I'm going to talk about those 3 keys a little bit later. Lots of great information today. And I'm going to speak fast and get as much information into today as possible. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you how you can pursue working more with us if you're feeling called to do that. So my name is Jacqueline Green, in case you're brand new. I'm the host of the Great Parenting Show since 2010. Parenting educator since my daughter was a year old. My daughter is turning 18 this summer, so just over 17 years now. Over 30,000 GPS members from all over the world, an insane number of countries that in an email. Well, please put in there if you've got a guess, anyone, what guess for a number of communities, number of countries you think we're in. I've had over 135 different parenting experts on the show. We will absolutely be back with another big show and many big shows and no more breaks in starting in 2018. But those parenting educators include the best of the best in all sorts of parenting related fields, because I know that you need information on nutrition, picky eaters, media stuff, and I do a lot of presentations to schools on media. Dr. Gordon Neufeld, who's my mentor, and I'll be talking about some of the information he imparted to me soon. Dr. John Gray, Men Are From Mars, Lisa Nichols from The Secret, just crazy great experts we've been blessed to have on the show. Huffington Post Live has featured me a few times, national papers and magazines, and never until recently being willing to travel at all to speak. I've been speaking some in Alberta recently, and now going forward, my daughter has graduated and I will be able to speak everywhere. So I'm really looking forward to meeting you guys wherever that may be. So once upon a time, though, I feel so strongly that my credentials are as critical, that my credentials are as a mom in the trenches. And whether it's by birth, whether it's by marriage, and becoming a step parent, we all have that call, that pull to be the best parent possible for our children. For me, it began with my son, who looked a lot like this picture, just a little bluer. Unfortunately, despite vowing, and I love how we are designed, literally, I believe that God intended us to be our, to really give us a chance to grow ourselves up. And Dr. Gordon Neufeld talks about how parenting was meant to grow us up, right? And meant to, any holes in our development will get filled by parenting. But holy cow, if you've got a lot of holes in your development, then that vow, which is so beautiful to be the best parent you can be, can go south very, very quickly. The reality for me, some of you will resonate with this right away, is that many of us end up feeling like a Jekyll and Hyde parent on good days, and those good days can be 95+% of the time. Good days, I would leap across the room at the slightest sound that my baby made. In truth, I was over responsive, and that created its own issues. But I was trying so hard to be a perfect mom, and in the process, didn't realize how I was setting myself up for the bad days. In my case, I used to call it the blast with my kids. And I'd say, do you want the blast, right? Hoping that they would smarten up, and not understanding that actually torqued them up more and made it less likely that they could avoid the blast themselves. But it doesn't matter if that blast is 1 day in 50. The fact of the matter is, if you're blasting your kids some of the time, you are really eroding your parenting, your power to parent. And it's one of a zillion reasons why parenting is so hard nowadays. Behavior issues with my kids definitely followed, and that included babies picking up my energy and struggling with sleep issues and things like that. Behavior issues, the sibling rivalry nowadays is rampant, and it does not have to be that way, and there's so much that we can do. I am, just every once in a while, glancing at the chat as well, no surprise, like so many parents, and I love this, picture, and I love highlighting. In my case, it was clinical depression, although I had lots of anxiety. They call that a comorbid, they go together. Lots of anxiety as well. And in the process of nailing one of the steps I'm going to talk about, this has become something that I just don't go there anymore, not to clinical places, right? Which is amazing. And those of you who are in the community, I've shared some about my personal journey for that reason, so that you would get a sense of what is possible when you do this work. Because I began this journey, before having kids, I struggled with 2 cats, a well-paying, prestigious job, at a beautiful corner office at the Alberta legislature overlooking a river, quite had reached the, there, whatever had arrived, as they say. and was really, really struggling, and now can be in the opposite of have arrived in some senses, and yet I'm really actually clear I have arrived in a completely different sense. Crazy powerful work. And that's why I'm so passionate about this work. Definitely not happily ever after in my situation, and it's so chicken and egg, because what I see is parenting going south nowadays and sideways, and there's so much stress and pressure on us moms. We are working, I posted something recently on Facebook about how we're working 2.5 jobs, the equivalent, most of us as moms. So no wonder we are feeling like our heads are going to blow off, right? And no wonder we are blowing it with our kids. That creates crazy tension on marriages too, right? And then chicken and egg. You might start off with a healthy, great marriage, and you quickly go sideways. Or you might start off like me, pretty dysfunctional yourself, despite being able to keep an appearance up. I just didn't go out much, but I could keep an appearance up of being together. It's pretty dysfunctional. And so my marriage was pretty dysfunctional. You get in a bad place really fast. And my upcoming book, which in the next year should be released, is Strong Enough to Stay, Smart Enough to Go. I'm so excited to finally be able to talk more about that. And it is about, the first time I left was to a woman's shelter to stop escalating physical violence. And I share that journey just so you know what is possible. I am so phenomenally grateful for the fact that the two paths that I do see diverge, you know, that wonderful Robert Frost poem, two paths do diverge in the Yellow Woods. And the fact of the matter is most parents are on the really heavily traveled, really iffy road, and you really don't know where you're going, don't know what results you're going to get, despite that insane amount of work you're putting into parenting. And instead, I got, you know, to this beautiful place where I have happy, successful kids, and I might share it sometime why I shared this exact picture, but this picture is really special to me and not necessarily the most beautiful picture of me on grad day, but just over a month ago, my daughter graduated, and I just love that picture. Really, really precious to see how wonderful my kids have done, both poised to take on the world, and my son already in college. My daughter's about to take on a gap year, and she's really impressing me with her choices. Gap year, meaning she's taken a year off, right? And love that, doing some traveling, etc. So that is what's possible. So you're here to hear about the Great Parenting Roadmap, and love seeing the comments about how well it's going on Facebook. This is our inaugural Facebook Live, and just love, just in terms of what's possible. Once upon a time, you know, I had to have all my ducks in a row, my ability to fly, and we tested this a ton of times, but my ability to go with the flow was really so minimal before, and I just love that it's possible to get to this place where you can do exciting things like this. So rules of the road. Obviously, when you're on a journey, and one of the things I love about this Great Parenting Roadmap analogy is it doesn't matter where in the world you are, and you are everywhere, right? Even on this call today, like it's insanely delightful. I think we've got 6-7 countries at least represented on this webinar today. And that's not including all the Facebook people, right? The fact of the matter is, if you know where you are now and where you're going, you can figure out how to get there. Your chances of getting there are dramatically higher. What I'm seeing right now is so often parents think they know where they want to go, and that sometimes is off too, but also have a huge issue with not actually even getting where they are, and certainly not getting that overall picture to help you determine, oh, you know, there's an ocean between us. What if you're in Siberia, right? It's an analogy that works really well for realistically where I was. You need to know that there's an ocean in between you, because that's going to affect how you navigate, right? And the fact of the matter is, those of you who are in the equivalent of Siberia parenting-wise, I will tell you that there's huge gifts in that, because it grew me as a person to phenomenally different degrees. And I would argue it's just a powerful gift that you can turn around. But of course, when you are in the trenches, you're in Siberia, you think you're in Florida, you're trying to get to Chicago, and you don't get why it's not working. It is so excruciatingly painful, and that's why I'm doing this work. So really, this is about getting you the tools that you need so that you can get the overall perspective of where you want to be. So this is about the power of insight, Insight is your GPS, right? And I love, even though we are going to rebrand and make some changes, the GPS analogy is something that's really critical for us to have the feeling of having a GPS and as well as being our child's GPS. More on that in a second. This is about a map versus specifics. It's about insights or perspective shift, because those are so much easier to retain. And the fact of the matter is, one more quick thing about the rules of the road. Would you head off on a car trip in a foreign country without knowing the rules of the road, without a map, right? And the rules of the road? No, you wouldn't, right? What about if you're in a foreign country where you didn't even understand gravity? And you're going to see why I say that in a moment. Because where you didn't understand that gravity didn't exist. And do you think, and put this in the chat, think if you do you think you can find your way if you understood the rules of the road and had that GPS? So what do you need to do when you're lost? Well, you need that map, and you need to focus, right, on where you're going to go and focus on the details of the map. So today I'm going to cover the 5 steps to being the great parent you're born to be, and I'm going to quickly give you that overview of what they are, and then tell you a little bit more. Then step 1 is the great parenting mindset, developing your strong inner GPS, so critical, and I see that parents are super struggling with that. Step 2 is the rules of the road. This is the invisible foundation to successful navigation. This is where the gravity analogy will come in. More on that in a second. Step 3 is growing your child's inner GPS, maturation and motivation, absolutely critical. Step 4, going in the map, support on your journey, and really that is there's so many of these steps that I see that our world has changed, so we're not getting the support that we need, and so many of these steps we used to be able to count on in a way we can't now. Step 5, major roadblocks dealing with bad behavior. More on why that's step 5 in a moment too. So what we'll cover today is an overview of the 5 steps, steps 1 and 2 in more detail, and then how you can get help mastering the 5 steps, because I'm going to give you as much information as I can now for those of you, well, for everyone listening, there'll be lots of great content. And some of you already might have a sense that, whether it's because you have followed me over the years and that sense of wanting what you see that I've got, and wanting the help. If you've read some of the beautiful testimonials, and I'm going to share some of them from some of the inner circle moms, I'd love to tell you more about that too. And there's a really fun opportunity at the end to get a free strategy session with either Sally or I. So, and Sally will come on again at the end. So step 1, that great parenting mindset, developing your strong inner GPS. I'm going quickly through this. I'm not going to read the sub points per se, but any of this, if you want them up at the end, I'll happily get them on there. It's like house building. Oh, and the fun stats I saw about Facebook Live, Sally or Joanna, or Sally, do you want to post those for everyone to see? Because there's chat that just I can see, but I'd love everyone to be able to see how many people were reaching on Facebook Live. That's a fun little stat. Anyways, the great parenting mindset, step 1, it is step 1 because it's like house building. I want you to think about, what is most important when you're building the house? Is it the foundation, or is it the ground that you build it on? And just before I share this next picture that I think will illustrate, which I think, well, arguably they're equally important, but I think is the most important, I want you to say on the, sorry, read the chat, got mixed up, that I worked, because I was born in St. Paul, Minnesota, grew up in Canada, and I guess I still say about in a pretty Canadian way, which is fun, because I hear it. I think I just speak like my American birthright. But anyways, when I worked up in Anchorage, well, up in Alaska, but it was Anchorage in particular was the first place I worked in Alaska in summers when I was going to college. I'll never forget, people there. I actually had a guy want to date me because he just wanted to hear my voice, right? Because he thought the accent was exotic, which was very funny coming from growing up in a farm in Saskatchewan, Canada. I did not feel like I was exotic in any way, shape, or form. Anyways, from Anchorage, I've got this beautiful picture of the earthquake. I was actually a tour guide there the summer I was in Anchorage, and there was an earthquake in 1964 that we would take people down Turnagain Arm and show them, this is what happens if your foundation is no good. You can have the most beautiful house. And I see that happening, although I see how parents nowadays nailing step 2 a fair amount of the time. More on that in just a second. But the problem is you're doing everything to try and be this perfect parent, but you don't have the mindset going right. Then unfortunately you can end up eroding all that wonderful work you're doing. So the great parenting mindset is the importance of being your child's strong inner GPS. We are so confused nowadays because we see how poorly parenting is going, and we're accurate, right? Our anxiety is founded, but it's only because you're not on that path less traveled. You're on the path with everyone else. The fact of the matter is the great parenting mindset could be step 2, except, which is the rules of the road, and we're going to get more into alignment and what that invisible foundation is in just a moment. But the fact of the matter is when you have, like I said, that Jekyll and Hyde parenting, 95% of the time you're doing great, 1, 5, 8, 99, you're doing great, but 1% of the time you're blowing up with your kid, it really seriously erodes their alignment. And if you think about what's it like to have a weak GPS, imagine using your GPS system to get from place A to B, and your GPS saying to you, well, possibly, I've never been a GPS before, but I think we should go this way, right? It's one of the many tips for you is quit saying to your kids that you have never been a parent before, and more on that in a minute. But what's it like to have a weak GPS? We would toss it, right? And our kids, of course, can't toss us, but it explains a lot of the alpha issues we have with kids being bossy and dominant, and we're mistaking it for strong-willed when a lot of times it's kids who actually just aren't that resilient, and they're scared, they're nervous, they feel like no one's in the lead, so they feel like they need to jump in there. Oh, and by the way, Joanna, we didn't even talk about this morning, but if you want to share this with the group, you can actually share the Facebook live stream with them as well, I believe. Anyways, more on that in a minute afterwards. So how about a GPS that erupts occasionally, right? What would that do to your feeling of a strong GPS? So some of the ways to become a strong GPS: focus on your own personal growth, right? You need to put that oxygen mask on, focus on your growth, put this as a priority. Learn how to shift your perspective. And that's one of the things I work so much with parents about, is how can you get practice shifting your perspective? Because in the moment, how you see the problem dramatically affects the problem. And when you see your child, for example, as being bad, and you can't just will yourself not to. You need often to have, well, if you can, great. If that's all it takes, for you, great. But in many cases, we need to actually do something to shift our perspective. I do love to say all the time, if thinking positive works for you, like awesome, because there are moments where it works for most of us. There are moments when it doesn't, and that's when I get into tools to help you with that. Getting better boundaries is absolutely critical as well. And lots of that comes naturally from that perspective shift. So said I'd also talk a little bit about step 2, and you can hear about step 1 more about it and in the process. That's that invisible foundation to successful navigation. And so more on that in a moment. Just quickly, and I'm realizing I dove in a little too quickly on the step 1. Step 3 was growing your inner GPS, maturation and motivation. Oh, and yeah, sorry, I did a quick change and I'd forgotten I'd done it. So I will dive more into step 2 in a moment, but just to quickly remind you, step 3 was that growing your child's inner GPS, absolutely critical, maturation and motivation. And it's one of the many things that we didn't used to need to know about, but we do nowadays, because when things are going wrong, suddenly, if a recipe, you don't actually have to understand lots of different things unless things are going wrong, and then suddenly you need to understand if you have to substitute, for example. So that's helping your child develop his or her inner GPS, and you can't teach what you don't have. That's one of the things I want to emphasize for you. So remembering that it's really critical to work on that mindset. If you are blowing up with your kids and you don't feel like a strong inner GPS, you're not going to be great at all at teaching them. Step 4 is filling in the map, getting that critical support you need on the journey. And there's so much more work I'm doing on that, because I just see that is a step that so many parents miss. And it's one of those things, it's not that you miss it because you don't get it's important, but you don't understand, in many cases, the gifts you're giving other people when you ask for support. You're so flipping busy that it's hard to imagine how to build support, and I love helping you see the little and big ways that you can get a lot more support in your lives. A thought to ponder is, and I'd love to see this in the chat, is just because you can do it all, is it better that you do, right? Or is it better that you actually get help? And Sally, I love that she's talked about this, that she was one of those. I work with clients who are feeling like I did, disaster, wanting to get to feeling half decent even, let alone to feeling like they're a great parent, to parent moms like Sally and others. I was thinking of Marion in our inner circle, and so many people that were already doing great. And Sally was an inner circle member. She was actually in the first group, as was Joanna, and doing well. But it's about getting to that great. So you're not working. The fact you're working 24/7, 365 days of the year, focused on parenting, that's actually a sign that you're off track. Now, given the choices right now, given not having the information to get on the way more, less traveled and with much more successful results, it's understandable why you're focusing so much, and it's better that you're doing that than laissez-faire. But really, you need one of the signs that you're on track as a great parent, to be the great parent you're born to be, is that you actually have a life. And so it's about helping people get back into that place too. So 3 barriers to gain the support you need. I want you to have this concept as a takeaway. The fact of the matter is, if you don't understand that the gifts your request for support gives others, you will not reach out for support. For example, I'll give you one of the many gifts that when you ask someone for help, you actually, there's a vulnerability there, but there's a great way, because you can just say to people, hey, if you could help me, or hey, I'm looking for help. Imagine you can't do it, or I know you might not be able to do it. Something like that eases the pressure. So it's not about being a demanding the person when you ask for support. But if you understand that you're actually giving them the gift of understanding that it's okay to ask you for support someday, and when you're asking them in a way where you're being clear that no is an okay answer, then you're giving them a model for how to ask for support. Nowadays, so many people aren't feeling the connection that they need. And really, we are hardwired to be caring when our caring instincts are evoked, which is why teaching our kids to be caring is wrong. It's about getting them in the right relationship. More on that in a second. But anyways, the fact of the matter is, when you understand that you're actually offering someone a gift when you ask them for support, that will help a lot of people. And there's other ways it's a gift, but that's one. Our perfectionism about the help offered is brutal. And what I see, and it's really, really, really sad, some of my most conscientious, loving clients when they've come to me are moms who are trying so flipping hard to be perfect. And I get it. You care so much, and you're so aware of the pain, that you felt, the pain that your children may feel. The fact of the matter is, if we don't learn how to shift our perspective, again, that's one of those pieces where I do a lot of work with you on this. If you don't learn how to drop your perfectionism about the help you receive, instead of having imperfect help from other people, which teaches your kids so many things when they can deal with imperfection, instead of having that, your parents will see your imperfections, and they won't have anyone to kind of buffer so if you are screaming at your kids occasionally, or I could share different things that I did over the years, such as holding my daughter on the bed when she was being really aggressive when she was like 4, and traumatic little events for my kids. The fact of the matter is, if you're insulating them from these cracked pots, that you're also insulating them from some of those cracked pots can be exactly the love and support that they need. And the crazy thing is, your chances of getting out of that trap you're in are so much harder. So I do a lot of work on this. Also, not getting how critical it is to your child. So much I could say about that, but there's a link between the lack of support you have and so many things that you don't want. And that's your mental health issues, your kids' mental health issues. You want to buffer them from so many of their problems nowadays. Support is critical. And because I want to keep this short, I'm just going to share these 3 pictures quickly. This is one of the people that I got to come in for inexpensive childcare after school when she was 14. She started with me. She is now 20 years younger than me, just got married, and that's my son on the left. That's my daughter holding her baby. They didn't think it was a picture going to be shared publicly, but I love that shot of my daughter being very protective with the baby, and I love the shot of my son talking to my girlfriend Danielle's grandfather-in-law, because those extended relationships are so important. And my kids really have had very little extended family because of geography and all that, and yet every little bit they've had has been powerful. But anyways, I just thought I'd share that beautiful picture of what is possible. These people, Danielle's extended family, actually have been very supportive and have become like a replacement extended family for us in this community. So the last 5 step, I just want to explain why before, like I said, I'm going to dive a little bit more into steps 1 and 2 in a second, but step 5, major roadblocks, discipline and dealing with bad behavior. I want to tell you why this is step 5 and why I'm not going much into this one today. Step 5, roots of and dealing with bad behavior. The roots of bad behavior include the lack of alignment, and that's step 2. We're going to dive into just a moment. Poor modeling due to lack of parental self-control, and really I could say that's step 1 and the step 4 on support, right? Because when you don't have much support, you're going to feel fried, even if you have great skills. And so many of you don't identify with having much for issues. Life was going along pretty well until you became a parent, or even excellent. But that lack of support is killing you and really hurting your kids and fueling bad behavior. And so poor modeling is a big deal, which, yeah, because it leads to mood issues in the mama and the papa, inconsistent parenting. The other thing is lack of skills or maturity, and that's where I get a lot more into that in maturation or motivation. But if you just nailed step 1 and 2, even if you just nailed step 1, you would transform your parenting, absolutely. Anyways, you guys said in the survey, thanks for filling it in, the step you most wanted to focus on was step 5, was dealing with bad behavior. Steps 1 and 2, though, were equal, the great parenting mindset and alignment. I know that if I tried to deal with step 5 without giving you any of the foundation, you wouldn't get anywhere. So that's why we're going more into step 1 and 2 today. So step 2, the rules of the road. This is that invisible foundation to successful navigation. I've already said the word a couple times, and many of you, most of you, although we have brand new people on Facebook and some brand new people signed up, most of you did come from our Great Parenting Show community and been with us for years. So you've probably heard me talk about that invisible foundation, which is like the big part of the iceberg, you know, how most of the iceberg's underwater. When our kids, their behavior, if you think of the roots of their behavior, this alignment is the major root. So alignment, in case you're brand new, I love to explain what it is. The definition that I use is the connection or the line that makes us want to cooperate with and behave like or for another. The interesting thing is I use a picture of an apple, prize to whoever comes up with a better image than this, because the idea, I want a picture of an apple and water to denote gravity, so you get that sense of it pulling down, and you're going to get in just a second why I like the gravity analogy. Now, alignment, just so you know, most studied force in all of developmental psychology. Love to see in the chat what you know, if you know what the formal name is for it, because I'm very intentional. So many people, and even if I've already said it, it's great to put down what you think, right? Because that interaction actually puts a hook and makes your brain remember things more. And as busy mamas, you usually need that help, you know, with remembering things. Also, it can be great to just have a few notes for yourself after. Anyways, the fact of the matter is, it is attachment theory I'm talking about, but many of you know of attachment parenting, which is the style of parenting which promotes extended breastfeeding, co-sleeping in the first place. And it's interesting, while there are some ways that attachment parenting is informed by attachment theory, it's not actually many things that attachment parenting promotes. You don't have to do in order to raise your kids with attachment in mind. You don't have to breastfeed ever. and yet you could be raising your kids using attachment theory. So most studied studied theory in all developments of psychology, not debated at all, explains so much of human behavior, and explains, it's one of the huge missing pieces nowadays. Unfortunately, there's lots of them, but it's a huge missing piece nowadays because you have never been less able to count on alignment than you can now. So primal basic force attachment is, and it's just up from food and water. You know, you do have to have food and water first, but if you don't get your alignment needs met, you will be actually in childhood, if you don't get at least basic alignment needs met, you will be psychologically malnourished, right, and harmed for life. And unfortunately, it is insane. We have in all these have countries, and we have lovely, you know, developing people in developing countries here. Love to hear your experience as well, because many, unfortunately, media is one of the reasons why things are changing everywhere, changing really rapidly. And while media has many gifts, you need to get a handle on media issues and media limits and that, because it's really eroding so many things. But the fact of the matter is, you have nowadays, in so many cases, our kids physically have everything they need, but they psychologically don't, right? And they're malnourished, and it's so sad. You can have a child in your home, you're focused. That's why you can be focused 24/7, 365 days a year, and your kids can still be struggling. Primal basic force, seriously eroded, and love to hear some things in the chat about why it's so eroded, because those things, media I've already mentioned, you know, extended families not being there, us not understanding how to build support. I wish you didn't need to build a village. Crazy though, just like that original village of yours didn't need to have, you know, you could have that crackpot neighbor and yet still learn so much from that person. So it's not like you have to have this cohesive, lovely village, but you do need to create one. And like I said, wish you didn't have to, but that is the route to getting on the way less traveled, is part of that. 2 ways to think about alignment. I'm keeping a real good eye on the time because I want to get so much content in here. I do want some time for Q&A at the end, and as well as time to tell those of you who want some information even about the strategy sessions, because I'm going to have so much fun meeting so many of you again on those, as will Sally. Anyways, 2 ways to think about alignment. One is it's the line. And just to mention too, I want to tell you, I'm going to talk about free content at the end and give you some information about like who benefits from free content only and who could benefit from more. Anyways, the 2 ways to think about alignment that I've come up with is it's the line and it's psychological gravity. So it's the line, if you think about it. If you right now, a loved one, somebody you can count on who's not in the room right now, if you ask them a question and you they weren't able to hear you or read your message, you wouldn't get mad at them, right? Well, that's what's actually happening with our kids. Because we used to be able to count on alignment, our instincts are based on that. We instead can't count on alignment, and we're struggling with having kids that we're blowing up because we're misunderstanding. So here's one of the many perspective shifts I want you to have, is that you need to make sure that your child actually sees you. And that can be as simple as, you know, touching them on the shoulder if they're playing media and getting their eye contact if you can. You can't always, but getting some response from them so you know that there's a connection between you. You know that they can hear you, right? Because even sensorily, sometimes kids can physically have the sound wave hit their ear and not actually hear you. So making sure you've got the line, picking up the line, really important concept. Psychological gravity. I've basically covered this already. I've covered the sad part about having so many psychologically malnourished kids. So sad and so true. Psychological gravity, one other thing about the concept I want to explain to you is it actually gets you to see and understand the power to parent and why you get so much of it. You think if you are psychologically your child's home, your child's center, I think better with a pen in my hand. But if you're your child's center, then you actually, your child's revolving around you, they're learning from you, right? So it's a really critical concept to make sure that you've got your child's alignment. So what alignment, and so many of the great parenting tips that you hear from positive parenting educators will whether they're even conscious of it or not, although most of them do. Dr. Gordon Neufeld, my first parenting mentor and still my most important one, I was blessed to be one of his first mentees and learned so much from him. The fact of the matter is, if you follow these conscious, proactive parenting tips, you will be growing alignment in so many cases. But you need to, it's really helpful because you don't want to be following tips that are breaking alignment. And rewards and punishments and things like that absolutely break alignment, as well as kill motivation as well. So what does alignment do for you? It gives you your natural power to parent. I've got a picture of a lever here, the rope and pulley, because you want your child to want to behave for you, right? And that's what alignment will give them. It also gives your child their compass point, and that explains so much. Cooperation is natural, much as caring is natural when we're in the right relationship with each other. And unfortunately, we are nowadays, it's like ants. Can you imagine if they have to try and teach each other? And we are nowadays having to try. It's not that we don't need to teach each other how to cooperate. We need to get everyone in the right relationship. Kids who show up at school well aligned with their parents, and then there's a way to pass on that alignment more easily. But even if you don't know how to help aid the alignment with the teachers and the staff, your child who's well aligned with you will naturally look to another adult to be aligned with, instead of looking to their peers. And when you've got kids learning from their peers, you've got the blind leading the blind. So alignment provides 5 things, and this I'm just giving you a really high level because I've gone into this before, and I do want to cover some other critical things. But it provides order, protects your children, directs their attention, provides a model for them, and psychological rest. So I'm just going to give you the pictures to give you a little bit more information, but provides order. You need to be like that sun for your child, and you can do it by yourself. You can do it as a single parent, but you need a supporting cast that's supporting you, and you need others who are also directing your kids to be part of that nucleus. And that includes your co-parent. I love getting into so much about co-parenting. We'll say a little bit more about that in a second. This though is, sorry, actually, I'm not going to give you the visuals of the other ones, but the most important one I want to give you was this order. That this explains sibling rivalry, why our kids are fighting like never before too. Because yes, some people say, oh yeah, my parents let us fight it out. That's fair enough, in the sense that if that worked for you, and in some cases it did. But if your kids aren't in the right alignment with you, then they can be like, asteroids hitting each other, or completely in wonky orbits. And really it can be abuse to let your kids go. And many of you are hovering over your kids 24/7 for that reason, right? It's just so sad that you working so hard actually is a sign that you're not on that path less traveled, right? Because you are so dedicated that you're willing to do that, but it is a sign that you're actually off track. So your role as your child's strong GPS, so this really is step 1 that I'm integrating here into step 2, because this increases alignment. So how to be your child's strong GPS and increase alignment? I'm going to talk about 5 things, and then this is really critical stuff. Get parenting help, offer choices in how to do things, quit over apologizing to your children, disagree with your co-parent privately. So more on each of these now. Quietly get parenting help. And this is so interesting. But if you think, how do you think your child feels, as I said earlier, when you say, hey, it's my first time as a parent? Well, if you could think about that and what that does to your role as a strong GPS, the solution is, and all of you, I guarantee, I'd love to hear if you actually haven't, and there will be a few of you who are on here and your parenting is going really well, and you've had the intuition not to say that. Most parents nowadays, because we can't help but be affected by the people around us, we're going with the flow, and the flow is towards anxious, insecure parenting because you see that things are going wrong. You're accurate on that. We just don't see the path out, and that's what this webinar is about. So the solution is actually to do things like read parenting books after your child goes to sleep, discuss issues when they aren't around. Don't discuss how your kid's always blowing up in front of your kid, right? Because you don't even want to hypnotize them into that. But so you've been doing it wrong up to now, no big deal at all. It is crazy how wrong our beliefs about needing to be a perfect parent are, even though they're inspired by us being so conscious and caring. The fact of the matter is your kids need a model for how to do life as the imperfect beings they are. So from now on, just start focusing on in the future. And if you catch yourself starting to say that, hey, I'm jumping on a parenting call because mama needs help, just correct yourself, or and just say to yourself, oh, next time I'll quit saying that, because you can shift it. Doesn't matter what age your kids are. It does make a difference. Developmental stages. It's easier when they're younger, but yeah, I've likened my parenting journey to an ever slight climb, and you can absolutely get there no matter where you are. And it is worth it no matter where you are. Also, quit. When I said get parenting help, quit trying to do it alone. And that's why I gave you a little bit more information about building support earlier. You need a team, and that team, and it benefits you so much when you have some people of different ages and different backgrounds, and that it's so much stronger. And the teeny connections with somebody your kids see once a year can make a huge difference, and someone you see once a year. So that's the first thing. I won't go any more into it, but getting parenting help quietly is critical. Offering your child choices in how to do things, but not what to do, is also critical. The fact of the matter is, when you are, it does make a difference how old your kids are. There are, as they get older, you can give them more and more choices for sure of even what to do. But the fact of the matter is, you can even take a child who is, tantruming, and you just realize, I'm going to lose it. Like, I am going to lose it. Yeah, would it be lovely if you're not going to lose it? Sure, but it's human nature, right? And being more gentle on yourself is critical. And that's so much of this great parenting mindset that I work with you on, is working. And like I said, love to hear questions in the end about, how I can support you right away with that. But anyways, offer your child choices in how to do things, not what to do. And if you find your child tantruming right in front of you and there's nothing you can do, and you're going to lose it if you try and stay, you can actually just pretend it's your idea, right? And just say, oh, I forgot, today's Wednesday, and I'd say the first Wednesday of the 20th century. I mean, you make it up as you go, right? It's okay. Give yourself permission to be an oak tree, to bend, right? Because in the process, you can stay in the lead, stay that GPS. Anyway, so much about that, but giving your child, fun choices too, because you can say, hey, you want to, hop like a bunny to the teller because it's time to pay, or do you want to go like Snuffleupagus, like whatever, right? Anyways, that's another critical aspect of being your child's strong GPS. Quit over apologizing. And I get it. I mean, good heavens, I get it. Been there, done that, and apologize profusely to my children, because I was just devastated that I had done whatever. The fact of the matter is, though, again, if you think about what does that do to you as a GPS, think of a boss who comes to you and just like prostrates themselves, just saying, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness, like, I can't believe I did that. You deserve so much better, and goes on and on and on. You like the apology, right? But at a certain point you start, and it can actually get you out of that orbit, so that you start feeling like you're the more mature one, and then that kills the alignment. You get those strong, bossy, so-called strong, but they're really bossy kids, because they're so anxious that you're not showing that you're a strong GPS. There's a right way to apologize, and that is short and sweet. Hey, wow, I blew it. That wasn't right. Focus on next time. And also I want to add something that's really important. If you're ready, first off, I want you to apologize, or to promise me in the chat that you will be gentle on yourself, okay? Because the fact of the matter is, you have done the best you knew how, like, absolutely. And that is part of the crazy, phenomenal gift that parenting was for me, that I went from this rigid, anxious professional who was really running away from depression my whole life until I had kids, starting with when I was 12, was when I first started experiencing, in hindsight, depression that I was running from, by changing the world around me, because I didn't know I could change. You have always been doing the best you knew how, and this parenting gig, all the pain you're going through now, is actually a gift if you know how to mine it, a gift of helping you start loving yourself. And you cannot be the parent that you're meant to be without deep, deep love for yourself. if you want your kids, so here's the cold hard truth. We want our kids to absolve our guilt, right? And make us feel better. And yet the fact of the matter is your words may, and just about for sure, if you keep apologizing profusely, your words are going to ring hollow. Your kids are going to know you're going to blow it again. And as I said, it erodes alignment. So start doing short, sweet apologies, but do what you need to get the support you need. And I'm going to explain why it really matters how you get support in a few minutes too. Last thing we're going to talk about quickly, and I do go more into another point in the webinars when I work with inner circle members, but disagreeing with your co-parent privately, it's absolutely critical. And that includes, on one of the webinars last week, I had someone coming on that she's got a parenting situation where she's needing to protect her daughter from this husband or the dad. I don't know if they're married, but anyways, this can include a really abusive ex, right? It can include an ex who would physically harm your child. You still don't want to make disagreements public for so many reasons. So you want to make the disagreements private. What happens when a GPS pulls two ways? Like, so imagine you had, again, bosses. Imagine two bosses, and even if one of them's got lesser power, but especially so many of you in situations where the two of you are in the same, perceived by your children as mom and dad, you're co-parenting in the same household, or you're 50-50 parenting in two households. The fact of the matter is, when the GPS pulls two ways, it's one of the many reasons why we have so much peer orientation going on nowadays. And peer orientation, Dr. Gordon Neufeld coined this term, and he's been so foundational for so many of the parenting educators you guys love already. The fact of the matter is, he talked about in his book, Hold On to Your Kids, about how your children will feel like they can't align to either of you, so they'll start aligning to other kids, and huge issues when that happens. So I am so indebted to Neufeld for this information, because when my marriage was struggling, which was not far into my marriage before we got struggling, the fact of the matter is it helped me know that I needed to not disagree. And even when he was disagreeing publicly, in front of them, it erodes both parents' power. Parental alienation serves no one. And like I said, even if you feel like, so you might be busy keeping your child from seeing the other parent, perhaps, right? Because of safety reasons or something, but you still want to be really careful how you talk about that person. So that even if you vehemently disagree, the solution is you be their strong GPS, because then they model after you, right? You can be by far the most important parent in their life. And I feel like this is almost a subversive thing I did, although I didn't do it for subversive reasons, but I definitely worked on being their strong GPS and worked on getting them to align more with me, and so needed the inner circle for support. Would have saved me a decade of grief, and would have saved my kids a lot of grief, because I got messed up and confused by trying to apply this information without support. So more on this in a minute. But they'll model after you, and it actually decreases the other parent's power, which is crazy. But like I said, you actually decrease your own power to parent when you're disagreeing in front of the kids, right? And you don't want to go there. Almost no parent can afford that. And you're also making your child, it's like you're criticizing them, right? Because if they've got like a horrible abusive parent, the last thing they need to know, what they need is they actually need to get the sense that there's some redeeming quality, some reason you picked this parent, so that they can hold on to that for themselves. Your parents' beautiful brown eyes and the voice and whatever you can come up with helps your kids. So much more I can say about that, and that is why I'm so passionate about being able to tailor this to your situation. So the 5 steps, they help with so many things. Media issues, because perspective shifts help you with boundaries. So many parents are confused about thinking that what's going to make their kids happy is following what the kids want, and that is often, in fact, a huge role of ours is to help our kids learn how to deal with what they can't have. And we have an epidemic of young adults, even older, but lots of young adults, like in colleges, getting there. They get to the Ivy League colleges, and they're anxious and depressed and bailing out, and because they don't know how to deal with what they can't have. And the real world will present eons of those. So your job is to help your kids deal with that. It helps with things like bullying, anxiety and depression in kids and adults, so many of those things, because your kids can't help but they're like fish. Your beliefs and your mental health and your perspective is like the water, that they are swimming in, and they absorb it. Things like teen suicide, and of course, like, good heavens, like, none of this is about appreciating if your child, like, God forbid, if your child has committed suicide. And one of the most wonderful parents I know, and a parenting educator I've learned greatly from, has had a child commit suicide. You did the best you knew how, absolutely, without question. And dropping that guilt is critical for parenting the child you have left. If you have children, it's critical for being the change we want to be in the world, because this is not about blame, but it's insanely powerful for a kid who's bullied and really looking at suicide. One caring adult can make the difference. And insane. I've been reading some fabulous brain science about some fabulous studies recently, and I love all this stuff about how one adult can make the difference with kids who genetically are predisposed to depression and are in houses where they're being mistreated. They did a twin study, and just crazy fun stuff. And my inner circle moms, you won't have heard me talk about this because I'm just reading about this now. But the fact of the matter is, one caring adult who is able to throw that line and keep that line going with a kid can be even fairly casual. Like, it can be a teacher that they don't even see all the time. So you can make a phenomenal difference. And the 5 steps point to how to, insulate. And it's like, we take our protective factors and things still happen, right? But it is about, if you've got a teenager who, and I've had, inner circle moms who've got teenagers who are suicidal or cutting or whatever, right? This is about doing everything you can, and you can dramatically increase the chances. And if stuff happens, it's how to get you to that calm, grounded place, because you can do so much to bring children back to your fold, even if you've got, a drug-addicted prostitute or some crazy, really challenging situation. Anyways, raising caring kids naturally flows when you're doing the 5 steps. Balancing your family life and family time in your life, right? And having a life. And staying connected despite hectic lives. And these are some of the things you asked for in the survey as well. So what we covered today, as I said, we'll cover the overview of the 5 steps of the Great Parenting Roadmap, and that we also cover, so I went into steps 1 and 2, and really 4, those are the support piece, those are really the foundation. Steps 3, the maturation and motivation, and step 5, which is dealing with bad behavior, definitely dealing with aggression. Those are filling in critical details. We went into step 1 and 2 in more detail, and now I'm going to talk to those of you, and everyone, keep listening, because even if you're sure, and even if you really don't want to apply for a strategy session and or become an inner circle member, because there's no need to, one doesn't necessarily lead to the other, and there's no obligation, but I'm going to give you some critical information now about what I've learned makes the difference between those people who are able to successfully, get into liftoff and not. So what you said you wanted help with, love that most of you are clear that you want more parenting information. Love that was actually the smallest chunk, because I see you're drowning in parenting information. But many of you want help implementing the ideas, and most of you want both. You want the right information, and you also want the support, which I love. 3 keys to change. I love it because that's so important. So you're going to hear what the 3 keys are right away and see what I mean. The first key number 1, is the right info. And it's crazy because I see parents dying, and I was looking for a slide, never found the picture I wanted, but of a parent like with parenting books all around, and listening to a webinar, and having a friend give you advice, all these things all at once. And the problem is, it's only the right information if it's fitting with that cohesive map, right? Because the problem I see is someone else has got a completely different map, and in many cases, there's so many maps out there that for parenting that are based on what used to work, right? There's also maps out there for people, and I certainly saw this because I was in the attachment parenting world, even though fortunately with learning from Neufeld, and realized pretty quickly it can be rage-inducing when you're trying to extended breastfeed or even breastfeed. If that is not working for you in your parenting situation, you need to find what works for you, right? So the 5 steps are not about a formula that you're wrong if you don't follow. It's about tailoring it, right? So you and when you've got that map, you can tailor for yourself. If you know you're heading to Chicago and you hit a detour at sign, you can figure out, okay, well, I know I'm still going this direction. You can do a lot on your own, right? In many situations, you don't have the right information. You hit a roadblock, you're scattered, right? So that's the first one of the 3 keys. And this literally I learned actually in the business course. Was so helpful to me as a parent because I was struggling with trying to figure out why Neufeld's work wasn't helping for me. And I had the right info to a point. I didn't have it tailored to me, right? That was one of the critical pieces that was missing for me. Key number 2 is repetition. And this is interesting because, so I read Neufeld's book, I attended courses with him, but unfortunately, back when I was first doing this stuff 17 years ago, the internet was barely a thing. We didn't have mobile phones really, right? We had the big cases for those people who had a satellite phone or something like that. So I didn't have a lot of ways to get repetition. And here, trying to read the same book at the same time, our brains tune out, right? So if you've ever had the experience of reading a phenomenal book thinking, wow, this is life-changing, and then going back, have you had this, right? Where you've gone back 2 years later, say, and said, oh my goodness, I didn't do anything with that information. That's why. You might have had the right information, but wasn't necessarily part of cohesive plan, and you didn't necessarily have the support, but you also might not have had the repetition to remind you to do that, right? And the third key is support. And this one I see nowadays is just brutally unavailable for most parents. And so that support includes the support of tailoring this information to you. It also includes the support of the sense of others being on your journey and not feeling like you always have to have that Facebook, social media perfection where you're presenting yourself perfectly to the world. Love to hear if you're on Instagram actually, because we're looking at getting on that at some point too. But the fact of the matter is we can get wrapped up in being perfect on the outside and not have any supportive people where we can share really what our lives are like. And that's insane. It's actually one of the reasons why we have troubles making friends and why so many people feel lonely nowadays is that you actually have to be vulnerable in order to get to make deeper friendships. But it's really sad because the fact of the matter is if you aren't getting the support you need, then oftentimes that's the difference of having the courage, right, to try one more time, because it's inevitable to feel great and then crash again, and the support you need can get you going again. And that's one of the reasons I will tell those of you who this is calling to, I'll tell you about the inner circle where you can get a deep group of support. So instead of seeing parents have the 3 keys, I see parents buried in information. I already mentioned that. Parents spending your time sifting information, trying things, and wasting so much time, especially when, so it's one of the reasons I wanted you to have this 5 steps, because I want you to be able to say, how's this information fit? Doesn't fit, terrific, right? Rewards and punishments, oh, doesn't fit, terrific. Because you can waste so much time. And so many things like rewards and punishments will totally work in the short term. They work because of your child's alignment with you. They rode the alignment, and that's why further down the line they don't work. And for many of you, they don't even work at the start, but in some cases they'll work at first. Parents get all excited, they don't work in the longer run. New studies are actually saying change takes 62 days. The fact of the matter is support is critical, and repetition. Like I said, you need right information, repetition, and support over 62 days, not just once, right? And that's why I am so passionate. If I could give you all this information for free, like if I could pack it all into an hour, hour and a half, and have you go off on your own and never need help, like I would love it. And there's so many wonderful other things I would do. And I was really strongly called to start the small group coaching inner circle process just over a year ago, and put the show on hold while we get this back in support, because I just see so many of you have been following for 4+ years. I can always see back 4 years. You've been following the whole time, and many of you have shared how you love the information. It's helped in so many ways, and you're still struggling, right? And I get it. totally understand why. And I want you to quit beating yourself up for that fact, and beating yourself up because you've been trying so hard, and you can start feeling like a loser, right? I totally felt like a loser, and I get that. And that's why I'm passionate about offering you support and as much free information as possible. Because I'm going to share a great testimonial in a moment from someone who free content was it for her. And I love that because I want to help. This is about being the change we all want to see in the world. And my mission has been to help millions of parents back since 2005 when I was struggling with my own kids. And I thought, millions? God, like, how would that work? I get now how it's going to work, and it works from free content. Well, because I think we've reached at least 100,000 lives already from those 30,000 people. Because every one of you GPS members, you're affecting people in your life as well, right? Anyways, and we're going to have parent coaches spreading the word, and in more and more ways soon too. Anyways, problems grow as developmental windows close. So I also am passionate about giving you the chance to get support, because you're going to see there's actually one bonus key in a moment that I really want you to hear about. We're trying to do more than ever before, but it's just brutal because we actually, once upon a time, we didn't expect all to be perfect parents, and we didn't have the sense that no matter who we were, we should raise, a doctor, a lawyer, one of these limited careers. People were even last names. We were called banker because that's what our lineage did, or shoemaker, or whatever. And the assumption was you just become like your parents. We're trying to do more than ever before with less support, and brutally less support, right? On every possible way, less support. So free help. Couple quick comments to make about free help, because I love that free help, and I've learned from free help, benefited from free help myself. It can be all you need. And this lovely example, E is in our GPS community, and you can join that if you want, our GPS community. That hasn't been very active since the last show, but E shared this recently, and she was saying, hearing me tell the story about how I understood how rage feels was so powerful for her. It broke her shame cycle so that she could finally spiral up and out of the self-loathing that she's comes from breaking our hearts by not living up to our parenting standards. Like, get that. That is so flippin' brutal. And yet, when we are breaking our hearts and beating ourselves up, that adds pressure and leads to us blowing up. It's so bad. She said, over her mothering career, she has had lots of stand-in mothers. I highlighted that. I'm not going to say anything else. And she did thank me, though, for being one of them. And I love that I could do that, and love that so many of you share on the support emails how my voice has been in your head and been very helpful. Love it. And I will continue to share, the good, the bad, and the ugly for that reason of my life. But the fact of the matter is, she talked about stand-in mothers. So she found people to be those stand-in mothers, and what I see is many of you are struggling to find those people. And it's one of the things that something like the Inner Circle is what offers that to people. And I'm going to share a wonderful quick video in a few minutes. So who does free help work for? It works if you've got the right information and that clear vision of what you need. So that's why I gave you the 5 steps, right? I want you to have that clear vision. Interesting. This is the wrong order, but 3 keys. Definitely, you want the right information, repetition, and support. And as I've said, many people aren't having any of those nailed, right? Also repetition, which also under repetition, I put discipline, because really discipline is like a type of repetition. But that's part of that great parenting mindset. When you're believing, and oh man, do I remember this, staring at my kids and thinking, I can't freaking stand this. And of course, I wasn't saying freaking a lot of the time, because when we lose it, we lose it. We lose our standards. And of course, that's what I was saying in my head. But I'd be, meanwhile, beating the tar out of myself. Well, what did that do to my ability to follow through? If you're saying to yourself, I'm such a loser, your discipline just tanks, right? So discipline helps your repetition. But if you don't have much of the mindset issues, if any, you already are disciplined, and you just need a little repetition, you follow me, for example, or lots of the proactive, positive parenting educators out there. Support. If you've got support already in your life, and I've given you some tips for building that, and you could be like E, who found it for herself, right? By all means. And it does help if you've mastered some, if not most of the steps, because the fact of the matter is, what I see is part of being so hard on ourselves, we expect us to get it all on our own, and it is not realistic. If you think of it, moms have never done it all on their own. Now there, guys, you can see me in the bottom window. I'll choose a different outfit next time, but love that you can see me, because I think it can add so much to the presentation. So if you've mastered some or most of the steps, free help will help you. Also, I guess if you're patient, right? Because developmental windows are like, if you're patient and you really have the vision, because the fact that developmental window has been missed doesn't mean that you can't be a fabulous parent, but it will be harder. And so it's really hard if you're not giving yourself support and you're making it harder for yourself by letting the developmental window get worse. It's hard. It's hard, hard, hard. What rocket fuel? That support and that great parenting mindset, right? But I said I would, so you can, from that, you can get a sense, because the inner circle is not for everyone at all. I have had delightful strategy sessions that I've offered to people, knowing from reading their answers to the questionnaire that they weren't going to be someone I'd offered the inner circle to, but I love the opportunity to meet you one-on-one. And I've done that with dads as well as moms. Anyways, and I can offer different options, because I've also dealt with moms who I knew that not a chance that they could afford anything, right? They really were, well, one mom was on welfare, right? Anyways, quick aside there. One more critical thing I want to tell you, because so even if you've got the 3 keys, you've got the repetition, you've got the right information, repetition, and the support you need, there is one more critical thing that I've already alluded to, which is timing. Basically, what a successful orbit requires, it requires the right input, aka those 3 keys, at the right time, right? Because you think of, you are part of the space shuttle, you've got a critical window when you need to get into orbit, right? And if some of those pieces are not there at the right time, what'll happen is you get part way up, right? And then down again. And I do see parents spending way too much time. Anyways, I'm ahead of myself a bit. Much less time overall if you've got the right inputs at the right time. It also can make the difference for some situations between success or failure. Like I said, just over the course of children's lifetimes, I see parents getting partway, crash. And then, maybe you do nothing for a while. I totally did that, gave up for a while, then try again, crash, because a crisis happens, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I gotta do something about this. And we have our hope that things are just gonna get better with the next developmental stage, and maybe they do for a bit, and then they get worse, right? And so then we try. You could spend phenomenal amounts more time, and yet never get into successful orbit. And that's part of what I see. It's like some of the most caring, devoted, crazy, working parents really struggling. Anyways, or explosion, right? And we really can have situations nowadays. Unfortunately, I alluded to teen suicide earlier, second leading cause of death for teenagers nowadays. Really sad. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the inner circle. It's about that great parenting roadmap, 5 steps to being the parents you want to be, but it equals having your own personal guide and companions on the journey. And just before sharing, well, I'll share this video next, and then tell you something else. But the fact of the matter is, I do want to emphasize, so it is absolutely not for everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of who it's for in a moment, okay? But first, this fabulous Inner Circle mom took the time to share a delightful video with you. And interesting, if there could be, I have, good, it's on, excellent.
Hi, this is just a little testimonial from me here in England for Jacqueline Green and the Inner Circle program that she runs, that I've been part of. I feel like I've been blessed to be part of it, and I don't know where to begin with talking about the benefits of it and how the investment is worth it.
Oh, I meant to confirm if you could hear me.
It's been fabulous, and it's been an amazing support considering it's all online, and I guess through the use of the videos and the Skyping and the Zoom that we use, it does mean like I've got support around me. The other mums have been wonderful. and warm and kind and loving. And we've all shared openly, and it's just led to a really wonderful experience. In terms of the content of the actual course, the modules, I'm listening to them all again at the moment, and just each time just getting loads of those aha moments, just repeatedly thinking, wow, she's got it spot on. You know, that's something I can take away. There's always something I can take away. There's always something I can do. And I've made so much progress, and so is my husband. The kids are thriving when they're with us. I'm a stepmom, and they are thriving when they're with us as a result of the changes that we're making, as a result of the inner circle. I think if you are challenged with your co-parenting, or you're in a situation like me where you have a blended family, the course is wonderfully helpful, and the support is great, and Jacqueline can give such specific advice that really helps in, you know, in your own unique situation. She'll be able to do that. I can't thank her enough, and I think she's an amazing lady. And I think that says it all. Okay, thanks very much.
One of the zillion things, one of the zillion things that I love about the inner circle is I get to dive in deep with some of you, and I love that. Inner circle mom, love every single one of them, and just love, because I do love every GPS member and honor you, and I love when I get a chance to know you that much more. I do see, and I tried to click on it at one point just to check it out, but someone has their hand raised, and I will get to you in just a moment. And if you've got a comment you want to say in the chat, by all means do. What the inner circle is if you, well, first off, do you think what this is? It's meant to be a picture of the ring, right, from Lord of the Rings. And if you think of Lord of the Rings or any epic story, the Shiro, and even though they have he's, you know, I'm going to talk about you as a Shiro for those of you moms out there, and then heroes for the dads. The hero or Shiro needs to have mentors like Gandalf, but also needs to have ring bearers, companions, right, on the way. And this is about getting that. One of the fabulous testimonials, I won't read this in any detail, but this is Elle from Chicago, Illinois, and she's one of the inner circle moms. I'm going to put them on the replay page because we've got so many wonderful testimonials from our first year of doing this. She talks about trying so many different methods in her 17 years of parenting, including one-on-one coaching before, and really finding it truly remarkable to get the connection and the support from each other. And I love that she also went on to say, thanks for following up with her in January when she's on the fence, because that's what she's needed. Because yeah, I'm just honored and delighted to be able to work with someone like her. And I want to, so I'm going to share one other testimonial in a moment, but most of them I'm going to put on the support page or the replay page, and those of you who choose to book a session, you'll get to see them as well. But what's possible through the inner circle, I'm going to give you a few highlights. You get the tools to get the mama mindset that you need. You're also going to get confident, because it's amazing when you just get confident. If you could throw back your shoulders right now, and hopefully this is, you know, helped you, because when you understand, whoa, it's not that I'm a bad parent, it's that I have been parenting in this crazy time where I can't count on alignment. And when you start understanding that, it'll help your confidence so much. And being more confident then helps you be a stronger GPS, which helps you with alignment. Able to set and maintain boundaries, getting help with those depressed, anxious thoughts or overwhelmed thoughts, right? Stopping feeling alone. And I love that the example of our wonderful inner circle mama in England, who may lead the invasion into Britain, which will be fabulous for our work, is that she feels the support, even though in her group she's the only mom in the UK. getting consistent parenting answers, not parenting tip du jour. That's critical. Spending less time on parenting. Really, you should be spending less time, as I keep saying, and you should be able to have a life. So a couple of the quick details about it. Small groups, no more than 12 moms. For the first time, we're actually going to offer 2 groups now. One for those of you down under for the first time. We've already had people in Europe before in the group. Small groups, because there is power to those small groups where you really can get to know each other. Weekly interactive coaching sessions, and they're actually mandatory. So one of the ways this isn't for you is you're not going to make the 8 weeks of the intensive period. Remember that orbit. You want to get into orbit. And a private Facebook group where you can comment and support each other and get help. Layers of support from one-on-one with Sally, my head coach, and myself, who, those of you who weren't on at the beginning, Sally's going to come on live here again quite soon, and from each other, because it's so critical. Like I said, you know, Gandalf, going back to the Lord of the Rings, he wasn't always there, but even if he always could be there, Frodo needed the sense that somebody else, well, he needed the support of people at his level, right? But I also know that when I tell you that I mastered these different things, it's very possible to still say, well, yeah, but for X, Y, or Z or Z reason, she's different. Now, you know, and you can discount the fact, well, and not even just discount, the fact of the matter is when you see someone in your group who also struggling with something have a breakthrough, it really adds credibility and inspires you in a whole different way. The other thing is we're speaking lifelong relationships. A lot of Inner Circle mamas have met each other in person, and we will be having a live event for Inner Circle mamas, and yeah, but we do also everything by the Zoom where you all come on video, so you really get to know each other. The time commitment actually varies so much depending on your needs, because we've got good to great mamas, which are, you know, the Sallys who are looking at, she was doing well on the outside, especially feeling much more anxious than she wanted to be, but doing well, but really wanted it to be about less work. And then there's mamas who are really, really, really struggling, like not even sure they're going to make it, right? So it does vary depending on your need. This is the last one in 2017. We did 2 in 2016, 2 in 2017, and we're changing them quickly too. So there's lots of advantages of being on this last one in 2017, and more on that in a minute. But the reasons not to join: time commitment. Definitely, you need to be able to commit to, you know, a couple hours a week for that 8-week intensive for sure. If you're not willing to get on Facebook at all, that is going to be a deal. You can still definitely apply for a strategy session, no problem there. But the privacy concerns, I realized I've got this worded a little funny here, but that's just in the past, sometimes people have concerns about privacy, and we show you how to post on Facebook so that you, well, and we also show you how to create a new profile if you want. And some people have done that. We've had real high profile people who do not want, and at first it's fun because it doesn't take long before they'll share with their Inner Circle mamas who they are, but they don't want to be public and really concerned about ever being hacked. So we deal with that, but that can be an objection people have. Also, the belief that it's selfish to spend money on yourself, right? That's why I really want you to get that foundational piece, because when you don't have, and really support is the third, you know, foundational piece. When you don't have, and we teach you how to build some support, but you also get it from other moms. So much of the support you need, you actually can get from the other moms in your group, right? And we are open to dads. So like I said, I've done strategy sessions to dads, and if this time we decide to offer a spot and we have the dad who wants to join, we'll figure out what that looks like as well. But that believing that it's selfish to spend money on yourself, that can be a barrier. But good heavens, like, you will be really, when you speak of that right inputs, you can spend so much money, like on drug rehab, and even just things like tutoring, and crazily enough, like food, alcohol, all sorts of things that we're doing to numb ourselves out because we're upset about how things are going with our kids, your own counseling, etc., etc. So really look at that seriously if that's an objection of yours, and book a session. I'd love to talk to you about those things as well. And I'm going to tell you how to do that in just a second. Not in North America, that's not a problem anymore. And before we did have people in Europe, but now you can be anywhere because we'll have an evening one, which will be in the morning, and things are recorded too, but you do need to be on live once a week, for those 8 weeks. Anyways, things are already good, and thinking that you shouldn't take the spot. That's interesting. I'm not even going to read Kiara's testimonial, but she is one of our first Inner Circle mamas, and she's in Tucson, Arizona, and she talks a lot in her testimonial about how she was already doing great, but she needed to, well, not needed, she wanted to go good to great, right? Wanted to be one of those families that was just acing it. And that is a phenomenal difference in the world. So the requirements I've already talked about. You need to be committed for that 8 weeks, but it's not about being perfect. It's about being committed to starting again and again. You need to be coachable, and you need to be clear on the value. And part of the reason you need to be clear on the values is it's going to help you be coachable. It's going to help you find the time, right? Because if you're clear that the developmental windows matter, then you will be able to find the time that much more easily, right? And you'll be that much more motivated. Because I really, for each of you, it's important for each of you in the Inner Circle to have a strong, committed group. Really quickly, I'm not even going to go into the benefits of being, well, I'll go through it quickly. Benefits of being a parenting coach, like I said, you want to become a great parent and you feel like you're a disaster, take the Inner Circle, commit to becoming a parenting coach, right? And it will transform your life like it did mine. And I love that I can offer you so much support to get you there so much more quickly than me. You can learn now, make money now or later, right? Because we are going to be growing and expanding quickly in 2018. No minimum or maximum hours. We train you, and then we can send you the clients, or you can go off on your own. You will become certified. That is in the works for 2018 as well. Crazy benefits to working from home. Just wanted to share this lovely picture that took place at our grad recently and wouldn't have happened if I wasn't home. And not to mention that you get the right information, the repetition, and the support, not to mention timing. So the next step is to go to greatparentingshow.com/GPSS. Sally, if you could put that into the chat. Well, or Joanna, maybe Joanna, you can put it in, because Sally, I forgot to bring you on even sooner. So if you can come on now, that would be great. Private one-on-one strategy session, you'll get it with Sally or myself. And you will just do one more thing to say is that the fun thing is that you're going to get clarity on the number one thing that's preventing you from having the family life of your dreams. I take you, or Sally will take you through the process of a number of questions that really give you that snapshot. And it's a very, very powerful process that is, I've got some great testimonials from moms like Bonnie in Germany, who talked last time about how much she appreciated that snapshot and how motivating and inspiring it was to really get clear on where she was on the map and where she wanted to be. And it's a win-win for us because we get valuable information from you. So Sally, I had a couple other testimonials I could have shared, but I really want to emphasize to everyone, go to that greatparentingshow.com /GPSS. You're going to be asked 5 quick questions. Then after we look at them, just to make sure you're a real person and that, then we'll send you the link to book. We are going to be doing the strategy sessions over the next couple of weeks. You'll get whoever you get. So you won't know until you get on who you got. Sally, so Sally's my head coach. If you want to say something, just maybe a couple of really quick words about what you're excited about in terms of the Inner Circle and what you see for people.
Well, sure. And I was already a life coach when I joined Jacqueline, and I joined her first Inner Circle. And what the 8 weeks is just amazingly powerful. But what's also just the part of the growth that you can't duplicate by trying to do things by yourself is that it does last an entire year. And so over the course of a whole year, you have calls, you're continuing to do support with small groups. And I think that so many of the parents that are part of the Inner Circle continue to have, sort of like Joe said, those ahas even as they continue through the whole year. So you get all that information and you're getting the repetition in the 8 weeks, but then you're continuing to get that support and repetition through the whole year. And that is what is so powerful. And then also, like Jacqueline said, is, continue to form friendships with other parents that are lasting beyond that year. And it's, for me personally, it's been just an incredible journey. It's something I had no idea really what I was going to get when I signed up, and it's been 100-fold what I thought. And where we are as a family, I just wouldn't trade it for anything. So and that's just very authentically where I am. And I would just encourage any parent that's really looking for some real changes to at least have a strategy session with one of us and see what you think. It's worth it, and it's fun to go through the process. So we would love for you to join us with that.
Thanks, Sally, because I want people to get a sense of it, because it's a win-win for us, because even though I'd love to do a strategy session with each and every one of you in the GPS community, there's thousands of people. It's not going to happen. So we get the honor of, and like I said, the moms and dads who in advance I know, oh, that's not going to be a fit. I don't go into those calls with anything but joy to get time with that parent, right? And of course, we could just not offer sessions, and we don't do it that way. We offer sessions to basically everyone, because it's an honor to spend the time with you and learn more about community members. Definitely be patient, because there's only a few a day over the next few weeks. And there was one other thing I wanted to say, and then I'm going to take the person, Dawn, with your hand up, which is great. Oh, here's a huge thing. Last, you save the best for last sometimes. Joanna, beautiful, wonderful Joanna, and I wish Sally had thought of having a picture of the first inaugural GPS gathering. We were also all Inner Circle Mamas. Some of you will remember that because I included in the email earlier this spring. Joanna, Sally, Rosalia, Brenda, and myself, we met at an event related to the Inner Circle, and there will be many more of those photos to come. And I look forward to some of you being in that photo as well. So this is Joanna's beautiful testimonial as well. Sally's video we do not need to play, so I will take the screen share off. Really excited that this all worked so well. Just would love to see those of you who are feeling called to just hear a little bit more about, get that snapshot of where you're at. Oh, but so everyone knows too, the way the strategy session goes, we ask you questions designed to focus on where you're at now, where you want to be, and then we don't offer the Inner Circle to everyone. And if you're interested, we ask you, hey, are you interested in hearing more? We think you're a great fit. Or we don't think you're a great fit, and here's what we'd suggest you do instead. Or, in one case, as I say, this wonderful dad in Washington, just outside of Seattle, we just had a lovely talk about some blended family issues, and I could tell that he was doing fabulous already, and it was an honor to be able to spend that time with him. So I think, Dawn, I'm going to assume that whatever happened, you're not coming on, and that's fine. I'm going to wrap up for now. So excited to go and check out the Facebook Live feed as well. Please send your friends and family to join us and to listen to this, because really together, this is how we are changing the world. Every day, the world changes for better or for worse, right? And we, as a small, well, I say small, given that there's 7 billion in the planet, the 30,000 or so who have signed up for GPS are small, but we are a mighty group and making big changes in the world. So love that you're here with us. Sally, if you want to say goodbye to you, you will.
Just very exciting. It was a great webinar. Just so excited with all the people that joined us today, for sure.
Yeah, from all over the world. So excited to see you guys. So bye for now. Catch you soon. Bye. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen. Bye-bye.